Welcome to Drinks with a VC, where we explore the humanity behind investments. Grab your favorite drink and join us as we laugh, learn, and liquor up with some of our favorite venture capitalists.
Whether you're a startup founder, fellow VC, LP, or just curious about the investor ecosystem, you've found the right podcast. Please like and subscribe.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Drinks with a VC. Thanks for joining us via whichever platform you're using to watch or listen in. I'm Vic Laquara, co-founder and GP of Green Cow Venture Capital. And as always, I'm joined by my friend and co-hostess with the mostest, Bree Hansen, who heads up business development at a little law firm called Cooley. Today's episode is brought to you by Fidelity Private Shares. Fidelity is committed to supporting startups at all stages. Using the Fidelity Private Shares platform, founders can automate their equity management operations and financings in a single collaborative hub. To learn more about how Fidelity can help your company grow, check out the episode description below. Hi, Brie.
Hello, Vic. It is good to see you again.
It is good to see you again. Last week, you revealed that you were pregnant. And how's that going?
It is good. So in lieu of the normal alcohol, I'll be having a green drink today.
Yes.
Again.
And an ode to Drew at Fiat Ventures. So thank you, Drew, for making sure that we were refreshed and detoxed. All right. In the last episode, we also let the name of our next guest slip in our conversation. But I figure we can pretend our audience is still giddy with anticipation, and I can jump right into the intro.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So today's guest grew up in South Korea and St. Louis, and he earned his BA from Harvard and in advanced mathematics and a JD from the University of Chicago. He started his career as a lawyer first in Seoul at Shin & Kim, then at Wilson Sonsini and the Venture Law Group, where he advised early stage startups during the dot-com era. He co-founded Storm Ventures, where he's been a driving force behind dozens of early stage enterprise software success stories, including Airspace that was acquired by Cisco, Mobile Iron, and TalkDesk, which is a unicorn in the making. Along the way, he's developed a founder-first investing philosophy and co-authored Survival to Thrival, a series that's become a must-read playbook for SaaS startups navigating the tricky transition from product market fit to go-to-market scale. These days, he's particularly focused on what it takes to build and scale category-leading companies and what founders get wrong when it comes to storytelling, sales, and strategy. Please welcome, and I'm so excited for this, please welcome to the show, founding managing director of Storm Ventures, Tae Hea.
Thank you very much, Vic, for such a kind introduction.
Thank you for being on the show. And as we always ask, what are we drinking today?
With my Korean heritage, I'm going to be drinking some soju here. I have to thank Brie for that. So Thank you, Brie.
Of course. I don't know that I've even ever had soju. I should try it next time I go out for Korean. I love Korean barbecue, love Korean food. Actually, I mentioned I was pregnant. I'm going to be making like Korean birthday soup during my postnatal journey because apparently it's very good for the baby. And apparently Koreans are like number one in taking care of women postpartum. So I'm studying up on that culture to see what I can do to ease into my recovery.
Sounds like your partner will be going through some intensive Korean training session.
Yeah. Seaweed.
Right, that's what I started off with how you say cheers in Korean, gombae.
Someday. Thank you.
Wow. Tae Hea, before the show started, you mentioned that you spent a lot of time and maybe your formidable years before college in St. Louis. What was the divide? How much time did you spend in Seoul? And then how long were you in St. Louis for?
So I was born in St. Louis and our family immigrated to the United States when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
And to St. Louis, Missouri. And so then grew up from St. Louis from 5 until I left for college.
Amazing. Amazing. It's so interesting. And we did not plan it this way, but our last guest, Drew Glover from Fiat Ventures, his father grew up in St. Louis before moving to East Oakland. I am now in St. Louis. And now we have someone who spent quite some time in his formidable years in St. Louis. What were you like as a kid growing up in St. Louis? What was that upbringing like?
I felt it was always like a new discovery, starting with kindergarten. I think I was probably maybe one of the few that could actually flunk kindergarten. When I started kindergarten, I didn't know any English.
Yeah.
And so it was a brand new experience. So I would say throughout growing up, it always was a new experience. Learning elbow grease is something that you worked on rather than you bought. So a lot of new things along the way.
It's hard to imagine someone who graduated from Harvard in mathematics, advanced mathematics, flunked
Actually,
kindergarten.
applied mathematics.
Or
but yeah.
applied. Well, mathematics at Harvard nonetheless. They're very difficult to imagine. But why did your dad and mom move to St. Louis? What was the impetus?
In some ways, I would have liked it if he actually had moved to the coast. I would like to live along by a beach. But no, my father was a medical school professor in Korea, and he had gone to St. Louis previously for some medical school training after the Korean War. And then he had a medical school classmate in St. Louis. And so when it came time to decide to immigrate, they picked St. Louis. They didn't ask me for anything. I just tagged along in the process.
That's right. How did you choose mathematics going to Harvard? What in your childhood kind of drew you towards mathematics?
It was a combination of two things. First is I like math,
Yeah.
and just coming up with models. So I like that. And then the second thing is, and I mentioned I majored in applied math, is that I can then apply it to anything, whether it's economics, decision theory, game theory, physics, whatever. So it just allowed me to defer any decisions on what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Did your father and your mother have a strong influence on kind of the courses that you then pushed towards? My dad, he didn't put the kind of pressure on me to say, hey, you're going to be a computer scientist, but he would have much preferred me going to Berkeley, studying computer science, than going to Vassar, where I ended up studying economics. What was that like?
Definitely. As I mentioned, my father was a medical school professor.
Yeah.
And so they had tremendous pressure to go MD, PhD, and go to medical school.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'm the second son.
Yeah.
Whereas my older brother, he's a medical school professor. So I had a bit more freedom. But I took all the pre-med courses and was able to apply to medical school and so forth.
Yeah.
And then when I decided not to go to medical school, he was very disappointed. And it was a tough 1 year.
How did you choose the law? Because you're talking about applications of mathematics.
Yes.
Lawyering is not one of them.
No, it isn't. It was actually a compromise in negotiations. My father, as I mentioned, wanted me to go MD, PhD and go be a medical school professor. And I had worked in medical research laboratories, had a paper published, all that kind of stuff. But what I wanted to do was applied math, program, do startups, maybe go to business school, something like that. That's the path I want to go.
Yeah.
And we decided that we need a professional degree. And so that's how I ended up in law school. And when I first went to law school, I realized I knew absolutely nothing about law. I thought tort was something you ate. I never knew it was a field of law. Famous constitutional cases like Brown versus School of Education, I had no idea what they were. I was so hardcore math and science. Yeah.
Do you find that though there's a cross-disciplinary advantage when you know a different discipline and you come into something that you may not think works, but applied mathematics, to your point earlier, is you get to apply it practically to different situations? Was there any advantage there?
It causes me to just build models and try to understand the framework. And so once I understand like the big picture, then I can operate effectively. But if I don't understand the big picture, then I flail. So
Yeah.
That's fair.
Was young Tae Hea, were you like a builder? Did you want to like just create stuff all the time and take apart gadgets and organize like neighborhood ventures? Or were you always more cerebral and thinking about models, etc.?
So I would say, so I'm not the more hands-on mechanical type, much to my wife's disappointment that I'm really bad fixing anything.
Yeah.
But what I really liked growing up was games. So I would play a lot of chess, Panzer Leader, Panzer Blitz. I play a lot of Civilization now.
Yes.
So I would play a lot of games. And so then I'd like game theory and things like that.
Yeah. I do have to say, I was reading up on you, and when it came across the fact that you love Civilization, my eyes lit up. I just really refound Civilization 6 through Netflix, and I downloaded the mobile app, and now I play it whenever I've got a free moment here or there. Civilization 7 came out. How much time do you devote towards Civilization 7 now?
I still stick with 5. I didn't buy 6. I didn't buy 7. And the reason is, and I don't play new games. I love games, but the reason is that if I do that, I know it's going to be like 300 more hours. So I stick with the version I played. I've already played it so many hours that there's fewer newer variations and as a result, fewer temptations.
Yeah.
I deliberately try avoiding new games.
Yeah. I'm interested in, I'm living in St. Louis now. We've been here for 3 years. It's an incredibly diverse ecosystem and region now. But I've got to think back when you were in St. Louis that maybe you were the only Korean kid.
Yeah, more. We shows my age. So we moved to St. Louis in the late 60s and 70s. And yeah, I was not just the only Korean, like the only Asian in elementary school and high school. There were a few, less than 5.
Yeah.
I remember my mother learning how to make tofu, for example, because we couldn't buy tofu at the supermarket in the beginning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what was it like? I think a common thread from a lot of our guests have been immigrating when they're very young. So that does seem to be a common theme with a lot of venture capitalists. Sometimes I think Vic and I have theorized that maybe they're bigger picture thinkers and more worldly because they had that experience of living somewhere and then in another country and then coming to the US and seeing core differences. What was it like for you as an immigrant? And did you feel very lonely? Did you feel like you blended in? I'd love to hear more about that experience.
First of all, I'd say the St. Louis community is actually a very open and friendly community. In that sense, it was a great community experience. Clearly, as the only Asian, you feel different. But overall, I would say it was a good growing experience. 2 specific anecdotes come to mind. The first is by being like the only Korean or Asian, you learn people pronounce my name in different ways. And so I would say, I hate to say it is a little embarrassing, but I mispronounced my own name until I was 17 years old. Because Koreans rarely get called by their first name amongst Koreans. And I said at home, I wasn't called by my first name. And then there were another Korean. So it's only like when I was 17 and my mother heard me, she said that I mispronounced my own name.
Yeah.
So as a result, I'm completely open to anyone mispronouncing my name, whatever way. I'm not offended at all. And then the other is that there are very few Koreans in St. Louis at the time, but there was this one other Korean boy who was 1 year ahead of me. The only good thing for him and for me is we went to different school districts. But every Friday, I remember I would hear from my mother, he won that prize. He made this achievement, this great thing that he did. Like for the next 12 years, I would hear about his successes. So he went to Harvard a year before me. So needless to say, I felt a strong desire to go to Harvard as well, too. And then later on, I find out that his mother did the exact same thing to him like every Friday as well, too. I think he was probably one of the few kids my age that my mother knew.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you been back to St. Louis?
I go back every few years. My sister used to live in St. Louis. Yes.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Listen, I would love to have you back in St. Louis. If you ever feel the need or if you need a reason, I will concoct one.
Okay.
But you and I can't wait to introduce you to the rest of the startup ecosystem over here in St. Louis. We're also going to have to go to Side of Seoul. Shout out to Side of Seoul. Their Haemo Pajun is very good. So if you like the seafood pancake,
Yeah.
Bree, this is another one. You might not be able to have it right now while you're pregnant, but afterwards, it's cooked. So I think you'd be fine. But it's a seafood pancake that is just absolutely awesome. Really bonkers. It's like my favorite thing ever. That and boo. So either way.
You become real Korean. Yeah.
You spend enough time in Seoul and then working at SK Telecom, you assimilate really quickly. And I think that's the point Bree was talking about earlier, and even Drew, our previous guest, talk about being a chameleon in the room. I get the sense that immigration forces you to adapt to the culture that's around you. And maybe you just are more aware or you just flex the EQ muscle that much more. But I really do think that some of the brightest, most relatable VCs that we've ever met, Bree, are those that have immigrated to the US versus not. That's a really
I think you're absolutely right. I would
Yeah.
say that is probably the one skill that you're forced to learn is because, the parents, your siblings don't. So it's a constant learning experience.
Yeah.
And as a result, I become really curious about culture. So I'll give you one specific example since we're here drinking right now.
Yeah.
As we go from just comparing drinking in Korea versus like Germany.
Yeah.
Because I've been investing in Germany and Korea as well. And I think, Vic, as you've been in Korea, so drinking in Korea, there's a very strict ritual of depending upon whether your peers, older, younger, all who
Yes.
drinks first, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so when you have two people doing cheers in Korea, especially if it's a junior and a senior, it's rare for this junior person to look the senior in the eye as they're drinking together. It would be considered a little bit offensive.
Yeah. Even pouring my
Yes.
own drink right now, as if I was a senior, I'm not there yet, but if I was pouring my own drink, that would be frowned upon. If I was a junior and not holding
Yes.
up with both hands, we're going to have issues, right?
Yes. So there's drinking culture. The rules are so sophisticated, complex. But when I was in Germany and it turns out in Germany, when you like do cheers and you don't look the person in the eyes, they think like you're like hiding something or mischievous. So it's like the complete reverse of two Koreans drinking.
Right.
So that sort of struck me as the
Yeah.
same activity, just toasting each other for a drink.
Yeah.
Depending upon whether it's Germany or Korea, you have different. So in Germany, I have to force myself to look the person in the eye, which is not
That's
a
right.
normal Korean thing to do.
All right. So for all of our listeners, viewers out there, we're going to have a slow segue to drinking with Tae Hea Nahm, the right way to drink in Seoul. Let's take us through this. So I've poured some sake, let's call it shoju for now.
But I should preface this, Vic, that I'm actually a Korean American versus a Korean Korean. And now
true.
I'm like, Koreans would view me as bastardized.
Okay, fair enough.
That I mispronounced my own names.
Till you're 17. That's okay. I still feel like I mispronounce my own last name to this day. I feel like Laura, my wife, gets it right maybe 5 out of 10 times. We let it slide. But we can say gombe again. Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers to accepting and loving.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Green juice.
Yeah. Yes, the green juice. Okay. I have to put it this way. Growing up in California is so different than if you were to grow up in Seoul. If you're in Seoul, you've been privy to an amazing internet connection in the subway for, I don't know, at least a decade before we had good cell service anywhere. So it's really, as I think Bree mentioned, it's a little bit of a canary in the coal mine, right? For technology. You take startups.com public and you're still on the legal side of things. How long did it take for you to be like, man,
Actually, I should correct one thing.
Oh, yeah,
actually,
please.
was involved with startups.com.
No.
That one. So that one, if you don't mind deleting that.
No, we'll delete it. We'll delete it.
Yeah. So you may want to rephrase your question.
No, absolutely.
Yes.
So
but I do a lot in Korea. So
that's fine. So you're still great. So by the way, that is the one line that I took from a ChatGPT hallucination, apparently.
Okay.
Oh,
That
Yep.
must have been
that's what
quick.
happened.
Let's take this back though. So you were at, was it New Venture Law Group?
Venture Law Group.
Venture Law Group, sorry, VLG, excuse me. So you were at VLG and you were working with other companies, private technology startups that were going public. This is very much within the window of a huge bubble that was getting ready to burst. But you were on the sidelines. You weren't a builder, you weren't a founder, you weren't a CEO yet. At what point in time did you get that itch and scratch that itch and say, look, I want to be an investor or I want to be a founder? And what came first?
In a way, a little bit of both. When we started Venture Law Group, I was one of the co-founders of Venture Law Group and went through, I would say, the classic founder experience. I had made partner in Wilson Sonsini in 6 years. So I think I was like 32. We were just expecting our first child. Bree was, my wife's now working. And then we decided to start Venture Law Group. And law firms don't get venture capital financing. So I had to go 7 months with no salary. So watching our cash balance go down as we have our first child. So really got to feel the emotional side of startups is that the stress is not me, but it's the family that causes on me. And so I think that's really helped for me to build empathy for any founder.
Yeah.
And one of my clients at that time, I think, really gave me great advice. He said that I had made partner at Wilson, all this. And he goes, because I felt like I was about to jump off a cliff. And he said, the higher you are, the more time you have to learn to fly.
Yeah.
And it all worked out. So that's on the startup side.
Yeah.
So after that, other founding situations became emotionally much easier because it's more predictable.
Yeah.
And then the other is on the investing. As a partner at Wilson and Venture Law Group, I invested in a couple of hundred startups.
Yeah.
So that gave me a taste. And in fact, I actually made more money investing than profits from Wilson or Venture Law Group, profit sharing. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I probably benefited from that profit sharing as well with the number of investments you made at that time, probably carried through to my time at Wilson. So thank you for that. Did you feel like, so Venture Law Group is a founder scenario, right? You'd founded this law group. Now, I really want to dig into Venture Law Group to Storm Ventures because Storm Ventures really, to me, I had no idea, honestly, that you had simultaneously incubated a company in aerospace. And so to me, you were one of the first people to wear multiple hats in this situation of being a investor in this company, but then also simultaneously being the company's first CEO.
The transition is at 2000. I was investing with actually my very first client I ever worked with, Stratacom, the Stratacom management team. My first job at Wilson Sonsini was incorporating Stratacom. And then from there, I did a lot of the venture capital, all the venture capital financings, IPO, corporate partnering, M&A, and ultimately it was sold for about $5 billion to Cisco at the time. And so the key executives and I, we started investing together and called it Storm Ventures because Stratacom's NASDAQ ticker symbol is STRM. So the traders would say buy Storm, sell Storm. And so we started investing together. And in 2000, at the height of .com, we raised 300 million and started investing. In 2002, the world is different. So we went from the .com bubble to the .com crash.
Yeah.
And so at that time, we, like everyone else, pulled back and was thinking about investments and at a much higher bar. And one of the company ideas that our EIR at the time at Storm and I had was to start this wireless company. And so we started this company and that became Aerospace.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I became the founding CEO. We were the sole VC, and then we brought in other VCs as well too.
Yeah.
And then my replacement was employee number 24 at Aerospace. And I had interviewed like 15 CEO candidates personally.
Yeah.
And I was highly motivated to find the right one because it was clear to me if the company failed, I may have a different job. So I was motivated to find the right successor.
Yeah. The successor, was this Bob Tinker then?
No, it was Brett Galloway.
Okay.
And I had hired Bob early on to run business development.
Okay. Got it.
So you got to choose a CEO kind of early on, and you'd already been working with a lot of CEOs in your capacity as a lawyer. What do you think makes a really good founder? What are the great founder traits that you were really looking for a replacement?
Ultimately, I liked Brett a lot because I felt, as mentioned, I like games like chess and others, and a good chess player might think 5, 6 moves ahead. I just felt Brett thinks several moves ahead of me and others. And so he will just make the right decisions so that we would have the best strategy and the best execution. And Brett was co-founder of a company, and the lead investor in that company is a friend of mine. So I did reference checks and others. And so I just felt that he would make the right decisions and as a result, help drive it to success.
Well, I want to unpack so much in that last sentence. So work with me through this a little bit.
Sure.
The first aspect is, how has your diligence process with regards to team and the founding team changed over time from 1998 to where we are today? And what has been the biggest learning across that?
So I'll start with the question you ask is something I continually ask myself.
Sure.
And so being an applied math major, I have this spreadsheet of different CEOs and what I liked and why I picked them, and then what happened to adjust my filter.
Yeah.
And so today, which is different than a few years ago, I would say today, the one thing that I really look for in a CEO is one that has the right vision, that can come up with the right product and market strategy. So I use the metaphor of our investment strategy is to invest in companies that become surfing unicorns.
Yes.
And so you need a big wave, you need to be a great surfer, and you need to surf the wave. And so it's really someone that can read the wave,
Yeah.
to find the open spots in the wave, and the wave is going to change. And so then figuring out how to maneuver so that you're constantly surfing this wave, or you may have to even jump to a different wave versus trying to fight the wave. And companies that I see that try to fight the wave are companies like, you look at like Nokia in phones, or AOL in internet, and now Intel in AI. And no matter how big you are, if you fight the wave, you'll get crushed.
Yeah.
Whereas if you read the wave, then you can go pretty far.
Yeah. Yeah. This sounds like the absolute perfect time to just hit pause and go to our first segment that we like to call the VC unboxing.
Okay.
Bree, what do you think?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it needs to be box A, I believe. That's the big box.
Box A.
Wait, this one or the bigger one?
The big one. That's C.
B. Yep. Let's check this out. To everybody that is just listening, Tae Hea is rummaging through 3 to 4 boxes.
Okay. Let me try to see if I can unblur this.
Okay. Yes.
There. Okay.
There we go.
All right.
So
here
this
we
might
are.
be the biggest box we've given a VC. It's very large.
Okay.
I'm trying to find this huge.
So I can open this here.
Let's be real. When we gave Scott Bichuk
The
a
piano.
mini piano,
Yeah, that one was pretty big too.
that was a
Okay.
big box, but this is orders of magnitude big.
So should I open it?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is
Nothing
something.
super breakable in there.
No, I don't think it's super breakable.
Handled with care.
Oh,
Tae.
wow.
Handled with care.
I think I can see what it is. Yeah.
This is meant to be for your office. Hope
Yeah, no, this is good.
now to represent your metaphor, which has become, I think, a very important metaphor and one that's so useful for founders to think about riding the wave. It has nature, it has sports, it's something that I think people can picture in their head and makes it very clear what they should be doing as a founder. So I really appreciate the metaphor of the wave.
Yeah, no, this is great. I right there.
So it is a surfboard with a wave.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
That's
I should tell you that I'm actually scared of the water, so I don't surf. But my co-founder Ryan Floyd loves to surf,
yes.
and he goes surfing a few times a week.
Listen, do not give this to him. Please put this up in your office. It
Yes,
can
no, absolutely. No, this will be
be
great.
an art
Yeah.
piece.
It's meant to be an art piece. For your
Oh, no, thank you, Bree. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vic.
Yeah, no, Bree is always literally the best gift giver on the planet.
Yeah, no, very thoughtful. A lot of research. Yeah.
Yes. We do want to stick to this analogy. I think it's so apt, and you've taken the surfing analogy, even though you're not a surfer, and you've said this right from the get-go. You're not a surfer, but what I find so on brand for you, Tae Hea, is that you've taken something that you don't do and then still broken it down and created a model out of it, and then described it so much better and more articulately than anyone else on the planet. Take us through a little bit, because there are multiple kind of iterations or versions of this kind of wave analogy, right? There's the surfer and the founder. Almost, it's analogous to like hype investing and
Yes.
not. And then there's the post investment kind of discussion around customer discovery, product market fit, and then go to market fit, which I think is a really big flag that you like to plant nowadays.
Yes.
So take us through a little bit of the scenario here.
Yeah. Actually, can I share a couple of slides?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, let me make sure you have sharing permission.
Yeah.
All yours.
I think I can.
Yeah.
So the first slide I see is just this, is that if you read the wave correctly and you surf, the wave just pushes you.
Yeah.
And the wave can generate lots of leads. It creates new categories. It does a lot of great things. Whereas if you read it incorrectly and you try to fight, the wave will just crush you, whether you're Nokia, Intel, AOL. And so what I feel like is the CEO needs to have the right market and product vision in tech, because things continually change. And so if you have the wrong vision, you just make bad decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just unavoidable. And so I feel like this is something that CEOs must have.
Yeah.
And for me, I look at it as the big wave is so critical. And then related to the big wave, this is some research that Sunrise Proprietary did, which I really like, just commenting on the big waves like PC, internet, mobile, cloud, and the shareholder value created by each wave.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is why I think why the wave is so important.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out then how to read the wave is the art form. And then with that, you can find the open spot in the wave. And that's how you find product market fit. You catch the wave. That's basically finding go-to-market fit. And then you surf the wave to become the category leader. And then as the wave adapts, you have to learn how to actually jump from one wave to the next wave.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's dissect this a little bit. Let's just talk about the entry point.
Uh-huh.
We're at a period of time now where we've got this thing called artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And to me, artificial intelligence, right, this paradigm shifting technology, it exists on the hype curve on so many different areas simultaneously.
Yes.
Right. Unlike most technologies that kind of come in, they might generate a lot of hype, and then there's that drop of disillusionment, and then there's this adoption in the long tail.
Yes.
You've got AI on so many different parts of the hype curve. Where do you think is the right entry point for investors right now for AI? Is it, hey, chasing more open AI companies? Is it agentic AI? Is it connecting with AI in the future, whatever adaptive AI looks like? Where's the entry point for you?
Yeah. So this is exactly your point about is that if we look at AI as a wave,
By
where
the way,
should
we
we
did not
invest in
plan
the
this
wave?
at all. I had no idea he had this. Yeah, but
Mine's ready.
mine's ready. This is literally the most fortuitous, coincidental moment.
We think a lot about this, right? To be an investor, where do we invest? Okay.
Yeah.
And so we look at AI and it's a huge wave, and there are different layers of the wave, like the tech layer, the infrastructure, the model, the tools, and the applications.
Yeah.
And they're each one is going to be huge. So this is not to say one layer is small. They're all
Yeah.
big. It's just where is the opening?
Yeah.
And so my belief and what we're seeing is that the model layer is becoming completely free.
Yeah.
So companies have spent hundreds of millions, billions on the model, and it's becoming free.
Yeah.
And so as a result, and the main driver is Google, where Google is selling their AI bundle because they have a great model. They've got the cloud infrastructure. They have their own AI silicon. They have their AI tools, and then AI built into applications like search, into Google Workspace, and so forth. So it's like the whole bundle. And if you use Google Cloud, you get everything for free.
Yep.
So that's what's happening. And so I think what the model companies are doing is that they're moving up into the application layer. Like you see Anthropic really going heavy in AI coding, OpenAI trying to go to LLM search, but then they have to partner or figure out a way of building out the right cost structure down below.
Yeah.
So we see all this. And for us, we think that the real application opportunity for startups is in the application layer.
Yeah.
And so we're going heavy into applications. And what we're seeing is there's going to be an AI first for every application. And it's a race between incumbents like SaaS companies adding AI and an AI first newcomer.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the incumbent will win, like Adobe did going from on-premise to cloud. They are the winner. Other times the newcomer wins, like in CRM, went from Siebel to Salesforce.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just creates that particular disruption and what we see as the opportunity in this particular area here. And if I were, the metaphor I would use is what it reminds me is, and it shows my age, it's like the internet. The browser gave people the first taste of what the internet can do.
Sure.
And then with that, we saw an explosion of .coms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Browser, Mosaic came out in 94, Yahoo was started in 94, eBay 95, Google 98, Facebook 2004, or so forth.
Yeah.
In the same way, in mobile, iPhone came out in 2007, and the users got the first taste of mobile internet. And then Uber 2009, Lyft 2012, WhatsApp 2009, Kakao 2010, the apps then follow.
Yeah.
In the same way, OpenAI with ChatGPT gave users the first taste of the power of AI in 2013. And I think we're going to see an explosion of apps.
Yeah. Before we move down the wave, can we just touch on the platform risk that exists for founders that are building at that AI app layer on top of existing models? Like, you're a very successful VC. You've had to deal with a lot of platform risk in your career. How do you balance that risk reward?
Yeah. So picking the right platform is a life or death decision. That's why I'm saying the great CEOs are the ones that can read this wave correctly.
Sure.
I believe right now Google is well positioned.
Yeah. Yeah. Gemini over Claude and Grok?
I think Claude and Grok are going for specialty, like Claude is going for coding, but across the board, it's going to be hard to beat. The reason is Google looks at the best model as a life or death decision for them.
Yeah.
If they don't have the best model, they could lose their search business And that's like $100 billion a year in revenue. So they're going all out to win search. And they're going all out on their model.
That is, man, that is such good insight. I've had so many conversations about, hey, which pony in this race are you backing? And that is the best defense for a Google kind of lead that I've heard recently.
And it reminds me, going back to the internet, where
Yeah.
Netscape came out with the first browser.
Yeah.
When Microsoft realized how strategic it is, they pivoted the company to go all internet and then with their own browser. And it's like the revenge of the empire.
That's right. That's right. All right. So look, we know the entry point for the founders that you're looking at. Now I'm going to go back into time to your point at aerospace, right? Where you're the CEO and you have to make the tough decision of laying off half of your team that were focused on cellular. For all of those listening, there was a point in time in which connectivity was an issue. And so there were two solutions. There was wireless, there was cellular, and aerospace. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tae Hea, I'm sorry. This is
2002. Great your life here.
You're the owner.
It just reflects our age, Vic.
No, not at all. And look, so you had this box that had cellular and Wi-Fi. And I think if you say, okay, connectivity is the entry point now,
right,
in the curve back then you had to, as a founder, as a CEO, as a technologist, understand the use case. And to understand the use case, there's DITLOG, like day in the life of the customer. Then there's just asking the customer, wireless or cellular. And the reality is that majority of them were saying, hey, look, we're interested in the wireless, not the cellular stuff. And so you dropped half the team. I feel like we've gotten away from customer discovery a little bit. And in your ideal kind of profile of the founder that you want to invest in, how important is it for the founder to have market fit, but to really understand and have sort of an imaginative understanding of the pain points that they're trying to solve for their ideal customer profile?
Yeah, I would say empathy for their champion is critical.
Yeah.
For a B2B company. One is, as you say, to make the right product decisions, but also it's the key to your go-to-market as well, too. I view the key to go-to-market as how to make your champion a hero. So you really need to have empathy for your champion, as well as understanding how to build what your product roadmap should be.
Yeah. Do you feel like founders still emphasize appropriately the customer journey enough now, or do we feel like a lot of founders have forgotten that?
Founders are founders because they are very passionate about their belief, right? If normal people many times are just not founders. To be a founder, especially if you're like a senior executive at Google or Meta, or a partner at Wilson Sonsini, you're a very high income, life is good. And the question is, why take this risk? And to be a founder, because this is pre-revenue, pre-customers, is you believe in the idea so much.
Yeah.
So they have all this. And so when they come out of a customer meeting where the customer doesn't buy the product, what I hear a lot of times would be, the customer is stupid, it's a political decision, all these kind of reasons why that they wouldn't, versus really understanding the customer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here again, so as a result, I have this slide that I share with them.
I love this. This is amazing.
Yes.
Please share. By the way, we are going to put a disclaimer on this episode. If you do not watch this, you're going to miss out because these slides are awesome and they're really powerful and conveying the points that you want to get across. So thank you.
Yeah, because as you said, the right thing of how to communicate, for me to communicate, because as a VC, I don't run the company. I'm not the CEO.
No.
So the question is, how can I persuade?
Yeah.
And so this is the picture I give, is to say, you may think the customer is stupid, but this is how a customer looks at you. You're asking a customer to be your first customer. It's like going to them and saying, I want to be your first patient.
Yeah.
And who would want to go to a young doctor?
Or
Like
a
Bree,
toddler
when you're
doctor.
giving a birth, you don't want to go to an OBGYN that looks like this. It's nothing personal. You
Yeah.
just want someone, you don't want to take the risk.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knew, by the way, that we were I was thinking about referencing Doogie Howser just now, but we don't want toddlers identifying and trying to solve our problems. And so actually you bring up a really interesting.
So this is why having empathy
Yeah,
for your customer, your point was the importance of the customer.
sure.
And that's what I'm saying, having empathy for the customer, both logically in terms of what they may want from a product standpoint, roadmap,
Yeah.
but also emotionally what they want from their career
Mm.
and internal risk and all that is important.
So I understand this is going to be a crazy question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway. If you just assume that the founder pool we know are different, right? There are more founders out there than there were back then. But if you take in part, okay, the founder pools are the same size. Do you feel like the number of founders with customer empathy has increased or decreased since you got into the game?
I feel like it's decreased.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's desire to be like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs and are the ones that know the answer versus someone that's I think Bezos is very their mantra is customer focused.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think that a founder or a budding founder can do to exercise their empathy muscle and be more customer focused?
And by the way, I should say difference in B2B and B2C.
Yeah.
Good point.
B2C founders can be this way, but B2B is different. I think it is, I don't know how I think empathy is something you either have or you don't.
Wow.
Interesting.
So
You can direct the empathy, but I think empathy is either you have or you don't.
yeah. You are a special professor at Seoul National University. I'm not a special professor there. I'm a investor in residence at WashU and Scanlar Center. They let me in the room at SLU and U of I, et cetera. One way that I've seen them teach customer empathy is through emphasizing customer discovery. Do you feel like the way that it's taught right now, like entrepreneurship is taught to young founders, provides enough emphasis on what's right about customer discovery, that it's not just about asking questions, but it's about inferring and an understanding of the pain points that they're going through?
Yeah. I think it's much better than it used to be. And every year, the startup education is growing exponentially.
Yeah.
I think people that have this empathy in them will listen and will adapt. And some that think that they're right will just have a hard time.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's because to be a founder is such a risk that having empathy, especially if it's different than you, sounds like heresy.
It's like counterintuitive to the passion that you're trying to elicit for your vision.
And so one of an ideal and a trait of an ideal CEO in my mind is a person almost with a split personality. Externally, they have to appear like Moses. They believe in the faith. They're going to take the people to the promised land and say, everyone believes you're Moses. That's the founding idea.
Yeah.
But internally, you can't make decisions based on that. And you have to be like Galileo, a skeptic.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that.
But if you
Moses meets
project
Galileo.
that, then people leave.
Yeah, that's a really good point. If you're practical advice for founders, you're a founder, you need to conduct customer discovery. What are the questions that they should be thinking about asking? And then also, how many customer discovery interviews should they be doing and how often?
So in founding a company, I'd recommend like at least 50.
Okay.
And what ideally you want to find is like their urgent pain.
Yeah.
So reason why they want to buy now, not 6 months from now or 12 months from now, identify an urgent pain as like the entry point, and then what they ultimately want. So you can build a roadmap with the right vision.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a really good answer. My next question is, it's going to be funny. It's, how do you define product market fit? And I ask this, some people say there's a definition, and I would say I've asked 50 different VCs and they've all had a different definition. So how would you describe product market fit?
Yeah, I would say for me, product market fits when you have 10 happy customers.
10 happy customers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No caveats to that. They can't be.
And that's B2B, right?
Yes, and B2B, yes.
B2B. Okay.
B2B software in particular, yes. And if one's a relative or family connected, all that, then they're complete. Just that's why I'm saying 10, because one may be personal. And so,
Sure.
How do you know they're happy?
That's a great question.
Define happy.
So I look for three things in terms of if they're happy. The first thing is that if they're a passionate reference,
Okay.
they're willing to be a public reference, go social, all that kind of stuff. So they're a passionate believer in the faith. But it's not enough, because I've had deals where I did references and I got this sort of passionate reference and they just churn. So one is passionate reference. The second is that they're an active user. So look for usage metrics, especially amongst the team, to see if it's actively used. And ideally, it's something that just becomes part of their standard workflow. So it becomes a habit, something that you're, if you use it once a year, at least for me, I forget the password and all that kind of stuff. So something that is usage. So that's something that can be measured. And so I like to ask, what's your usage metric? What is it? And if they don't know what their usage metric is, then that probably means they're not tracking it. And then, so usage. And the third is value. And the value test I use, and by the way, usage is important because if you're passionate is your champion. So you want your champion to be passionate, but we have a lot of customers that churn if the champion leaves.
Yeah.
And so that's when I find that if you have active usage for a standard workflow, then even if your champion leaves, your product is sticky.
Yeah.
So that's why you have the second test of what's a happy customer. And the third test is that even if the team loves it, I've had churn or contraction because we failed the CFO test. Because the CFO is constantly trying to cut budget. And it's the value test and trying to see if the value is more than 3 times the price.
Nice.
Because if it isn't, then I know I'm going to face huge pressure at some point.
To our listeners and our viewers, let's recap that, because I think it's so important, right? You've got to have
a passionate champion.
Yep.
Active usage by the active, and then pass the CFO test for value.
And that's 3 times what they're paying. They must see the value.
Yeah.
I think those are really, I think, important. I think that is probably the best product market fit.
Yeah.
Kind of
that's how I
definition.
define a happy customer and say you need about 10 of these. And then at that point, because what I'm trying to avoid is deals that I've been into is I invest with these customers. Next thing I know, the customers are leaving.
It's like the artificial bloat that comes pumping for growth, and then it's gone. Man, by the way, cheers. Thank you. I knew this, Brie. I just want to point this out. I knew that this episode was going to have 1,000 nuggets of great information for founders out there, and Tae Hea hasn't disappointed. So cheers to that.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah. As I said, I'm an applied math major, so unless I have a model of these things, I get confused. So
let's continue on our ride down the wave.
Okay.
Shall we? Just before our next VC unboxing, by the way, Brie, I'm just preempting over this one. But I think once you've established those 10 happy customers, there's always a dilemma. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you don't think this, but hear me out. the founder has to change from founder mode to manager mode.
Right.
It's all of a sudden there's a scale issue.
Right. You're going from founder sales to scaling growth. Yeah.
That's right. There was an interesting debate that occurred a couple of months back. I think Paul Graham alluded to it. It was founder mode versus managerial mode. Where do you, I think I know, but where do you end up on that? And in agreement and disagreement and in between? Let's start there.
What I saw is going through our spreadsheets of founder CEOs and all that kind of stuff is I look at it in two ways. One is you look at all these companies and you ask, are founder CEOs getting changed?
Yeah.
And it turns out it's actually more than, it's a lot. But then I look at the other end and I look at our successful exits, and a large percentage of them have founder CEOs.
Interesting.
Look at right now, Meta, even Amazon, until recently that was stepped down. Tesla with Musk and so forth, is that it's hard when a founder CEO can grow. That's when the companies go the farthest.
Yeah.
But it's very hard for founder CEOs to grow. It's hard for anyone to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what we found is when you invest, is this a founder CEO that can really grow? I mean, take
What is adaptability, right?
yeah,
Coachability.
yeah. So that's a big question. And as an investor, that's where I found that we can get very high ROI if we can help the founder CEO grow in this particular manner. Because the ideal CEO at the founding phase is very different than the CEO, the CEO at product market fit or scale or category leader. Each stage, take Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
As CEO today, probably one of his top 3 skills has to be the U.S. government with all this antitrust litigation
Sure.
and everything.
And I don't think he likes having to flex that skill, but I think it's a necessary thing.
I'm just
to-
saying for any CEO of
Yeah.
Meta at this stage, one of your top 3 skill has to be antitrust, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at Facebook, when it first got started, the first year at Harvard, I think antitrust was like far off his lips.
Sure.
Go ahead, Vic.
So related to this, Bree and I were talking to Drew last episode. This has come up many times in our podcast. There's this concept of you learn more from your failures.
Yeah.
Now, diving into that a little bit more. So I think a lot of people think about like failures on like this large scale, like in 0 to 100 to 0 kind of failures. Whereas you haven't, look, and this is not me fanboying out right now. I'm a huge fan of yours, but you haven't had a lot of failures in your life. So let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But there have been individual failures on
Yeah.
the part of a CEO or a founder to do what I think you're describing, which is to grow from founder CEO to then CEO of growth.
Yeah, different stage company. Yeah.
And the number one person that comes up, we mentioned his name earlier. That was my bad. I actually thought he might have been employee number 24. He was not. But Bob Tinker,
Yeah.
Mobileye,
Yeah.
is like maybe the best example in your experience of a failure, right? That wasn't a failure. I'm using air quotes now for all of you listening. Can you walk us through sort of the realization that he wasn't the right person to take Mobile Iron?
Sure. So the
beyond?
context between Bob and I is we worked together for 15 years. Airspace, as I mentioned, I incubated. I was the founding CEO. I hired Bob as employee number, I think 9 or 10 to run business development. And then later on, after we sold Airspace to Cisco and then saw what's happening in mobile with the iPhone, we started Mobile Iron, and I recruited the 3 co-founders. And the third co-founder was Bob Tinker again, and brought him out of Cisco to become the CEO of Mobile Iron. And I worked with Bob before, brought him in as the third co-founder CEO of the company. We worked together. We actually afterwards wrote 2 books, Survival of Thrival and all that. And we still work very closely together. And then he took Mobile Iron public, and I think it was like a couple $100 million in revenue and so forth. And then we as a board, and we were and Bob was actively involved too, as a board felt that it was time to make a CEO change. And that's what we did with Bob as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you feel, and by the way, this is not news or anything. There's an amazing video series that I watched on this, and we'll include that on the details below. I just thought it was so informative about how Bob and you and the board came to this decision, but then also the relinquishing of the position from Bob was not this was a combative thing. It was really
I think what helped is that it wasn't like it happened in one night. It was a process where we first talked about, as the company is growing, what changes need to be done, how he's handling it, and what's required to succeed. So at the end, the discussion wasn't around Bob, but it was around what is required as CEO for the company to succeed.
Yes. And there's a level of, hey, I've got to abandon my ego a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
And Bob talks about it. You've talked about it with regards to like writing or reading the founder oath.
Yes. It's very much about that. It's about the mission rather than your ego. Yes.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. If you had to talk to a lot of seed stage founders about the founder oath, what's the best way for me to communicate that to them?
I think it's just to really emphasize the mission.
Yeah.
The mission is about building a great company. What is a great company? And with that, it defines the culture of the company, the vision of the company.
Yeah.
And it will result in who wants to join the journey, whether it's employees, investors, customers, partners.
All the key stakeholders. So in terms, going back to what you talked about earlier, which is founders need to evolve. There needs to be an evolution in skill set.
It's just not even just founders, but every executive. Like,
just take across the board.
Because the question people ask me a lot is, who should I hire as my VP of sales? And so your VP of sales, when you have no sales reps, is very different than when you have 5 sales reps versus when you have 20 sales reps or 100 sales reps or 1,000 sales reps. It's the same title, but what you look for is very different.
Yeah.
So what types of resources, mentors, coaches do you typically recommend to founders and executives as they're scaling up the journey?
The first thing is, this is why Bob and I wrote the books. Because we want to explain how things are going to change and why.
Yeah.
So we did that. But I think more importantly, mentors are the best. Mentors who have gone through a similar stage like 2 to 4 years earlier. So they're ahead, but not too far. So they can relate. Mentors that you can build trust with and can help you anticipate what's next. So because the first, I think, requirement to change is for people to anticipate. Because if you know something's going to happen and why, then it's easier to then figure out why and how you need to change.
And what is a good mentor-mentee relationship really look like so that the founder gets the most out of the relationship?
I think someone that they trust, that they can meet with and just have private conversations. Yeah. So that's why we encourage executives to have mentors and give them shares in the company.
Okay, you hear that, founders? Be generous to your mentors.
Yeah, because if they can help you avoid a mistake, that could be huge. Yeah.
I look at you as someone who's been there, done that, seen everything. I often grapple with working with founders that ask me, like, hey, there's an advisor or mentor that's giving me a lot of value, but I don't know how to compensate them. What's a good rule of thumb for you for a seed stage company that's trying to give some equity away to the advisor and mentor in that stage?
Yeah. So generally assuming that if this is a new advisor, then what tend to do is, as I mentioned, is to encourage people to have advisors,
Yeah.
but then knowing which advisor can really add a lot of value. We double down on that. So I would say just 2,000 shares,
Yeah.
but vesting over 2 years.
Okay.
So short vest,
Yeah.
relatively small number, but this way you can have a lot.
Yeah.
And then out of every 5 advisors, one could be extremely helpful. And then you really double, triple down on that person.
Great.
And if
That's
that person's
amazing.
like a former boss where there's a prior history, then you skip the first step.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I find it's better to have more and then figure out who is special.
And then double down.
Double down or triple down. Yeah.
Sure.
Because then
Okay.
everyone knows what they're getting. And that includes how much time can the advisor spend with the founder.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to jump to the next unboxing, if you would.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
And this is really to commemorate your time with Bob Tinker in writing really incredible resources for founders. I can't think of a better resource, honestly. www.survivaltothrival.com. Is that?
Yes, that's right. And we've now made the books free online as well.
They're free online.
And
Honestly,
we'll have the resource in the description.
Okay.
yeah, if you're a founder or an investor, I've learned so much, Tae Hea, from just researching you, but then reading the resources that you have available.
Thank you.
And so I really do want to emphasize, if you are a founder, if you are an investor, there is so much value, not hidden. It's in plain sight in these resources that are available that Tae Hea and Bob have made available.
For me personally, I feel like I'm fulfilling my father's desire because he always wanted me to be a professor,
Yes.
a professor, but now I'm
100%.
an unpaid professor. But yeah.
There you go. 100%. Please open up. Which box is it, Bree?
B.
B. Box
B.
B.
Is this the box?
I think
That-
so.
I think that's the box.
Did
Yeah,
it say
let's
C
look
or
at it.
B? I marked them all with a Sharpie. So
No, C is on the other side. I think we're good.
Okay. Oh, this is C. You're right.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Never mind.
Other one. Other one.
This is B.
Yes.
All right,
That
Billy,
one's
yes,
yes.
yes. I'm excited about this one. Bree, you really, man,
Boy, I
This
tell
one
you,
was
you
fun.
put a lot of thought in all these things.
she did. She
This
did.
one was fun. I know you're not one
Oh.
who can build things, but I found a
That's
Lego
great. A
unicorn.
unicorn.
Yeah, you do not have to have a ton of manual skills in order
Yes.
to get our Lego system. But there's a unicorn, but it can also be what, Bree?
A seahorse.
A seahorse.
Yes.
It
Yes.
does.
Yeah.
The perfect combination between surfing unicorn is a seahorse.
Yeah. No, this is great. This is great.
Off to the races.
Off to the races, exactly.
So
Um,
I wanted to get into topic. I think that's been on a lot of founders' minds, especially here over at Cooley, is the topic of fundraising, because there are some headwinds. Although the amount of money being deployed is high, thanks to, I think, the outlier of OpenAI raising their huge round, the number of fundraisers have gone down a bit quarter over quarter. So what would be some advice to founders on fundraising in general? And then we'll get into more specifics.
I would say, first of all, this is a fantastic time to start a company just because of the AI wave and the opportunity. So I think historically, this is a great time. I think the advice I have to a founder fundraising is really to focus on two things. One is you got to get a champion. So you want to figure out, it could be an associate, it could be a partner, but you need someone in that VC firm that really wants to invest in you, that wants to work with you. So you got to get that person as your champion. And the second thing is you have to help your champion get approval from the investment committee. And those are two very different things. And in terms of getting a champion, the advice I have there is really qualify who do you think could be that champion? A person that's really interested in your space, or there's some reason why, try to think of why that person would want to take this. And then once you have that, is try to get the best introduction to that person. And that introduction is just someone that the VC knows and trusts.
Yeah.
So because that introduction means so much that, and it doesn't have to be that it's a great idea, but just this is a trustworthy person or a superstar, other things that can come in, but figure out who makes the introduction and you pick the right person, then I think you've got a good shot then of getting someone to believe in you. Okay. And then you need to help your champion get the committee approval. And here I have what I would do if I were a founder is I would write a 1-page, highly persuasive summary that my champion can present on a Monday meeting.
Yeah.
Because every VC firm have these Monday meetings, they're talking about deals, and you have 10 minutes to really talk about it. And usually the VC championing the deal writes a summary, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, I would just have that person copy and paste that 1 page. It's my opportunity to talk through this person to excite them so that they want to meet with me.
Yeah. And what would you say are some key metrics or key storytelling tricks that they should have in that memo? Because I know I've seen a lot of these memos, and sometimes they're focused on all the wrong things.
Yeah. And every firm is different in terms of what they're looking for. I can tell you what I'm looking for is I ask myself can this company be a category leader?
Okay.
Because if it's a category leader, then it probably will get to 100 million ARR. It's a category maybe about 500 million. It's 100 million ARR. It can be a unicorn, and then we can get a substantial return.
Yeah. For entry into Storm Ventures, now we're going to really bring it to you. Is it the entrepreneurs in residence? Is it the principals of the fund? I don't think you have an operating partner, right?
No.
Someone who's focused on that. Are those the best champions for Storm Ventures to get in front of Tae Hea, to get in front of you?
The best way to get in front is it could be through them, or it could be like asking Bob Tinker.
Yeah.
Bob says, and he does one, says, you got to meet this person. I think he's a superstar or she's a superstar, then go and meet.
Yeah.
So someone that I know that really says you should meet, then will set up a meeting.
Yeah.
And it's not just me, but I would say with any VC, there's a group of people, if they say you got to meet, then we'll definitely meet. Like Brie, now that I met Eric, your partner at Cooley, if Eric sends an email and says, you got to really meet this founder, I'll meet the founder.
Yeah, Eric's great and all, but if Bree sends you a founder,
then that would do it too. Absolutely. Absolutely.
No offense to Eric, to Rachel Prophet, to TJ Graham, to Sasha.
And the thing is, someone like that, like Brie, they don't send 100 of these a year. So yeah. So that's why it means it's special. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tae Hea, from the investor perspective, as a investor that looks up to you, right? How do you qualify your inner circle? Like, how do you decide, okay, these are the folks that are really going to funnel the best deals that I'm going to trust the most?
When it comes to deal sourcing, it really changes. The reason is that there could be like WashU may all of a sudden have this brilliant AI professor that has the best graduate student.
Yeah.
Or it could be in Berlin, or it could be the deep mind. I'm just saying talent will come from many different areas all around the world. It doesn't mean it has to come just from Stanford.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, because there can be some myopic thinking in the Valley about where good founders come from or what this founder profile is.
Yeah. A brilliant AI person can do a lot of things because it's really about quality versus quantity. For me to like hunt at WashU from the Bay Area is tough. But Vic, you're in St. Louis.
I
You're
got
spending
you.
time there, and you say
I got
this
you.
is the one. Then
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
completely different.
Absolutely. And not just WashU. I think this
I
is
just picked WashU because you're in St. Louis.
no, I agree 100%. Look, there needs to be more Tae Hea Nahms in this world. And we had this discussion with Drew in the previous episode. I have firsthand seen emails. I've been forwarded emails from potential LPs in my fund. And they start saying, gosh, if it's not Stanford or Berkeley or Harvard or MIT, I just don't give a shit. Sorry. And I think there needs to be more investors that haven't pigeonholed founders based on their geography and realize that there are great founders that are adapting in all
I think
parts of our
people
country.
know,
Yeah,
but there's no filter.
but there's no filter. So
In other
you need to
words,
increase the filter.
you
You
need
to-
someone like you,
Yeah,
a trusted intermediary.
yeah,
Without a trusted intermediary, it's hard.
yeah. I got you from Vanderbilt in Tennessee all the way through.
No, that's good.
I'm your guy.
Yeah, that's why that introduction, who introduces makes a big difference.
Yeah. That is important. So important. All right. Listen, we are coming towards the end of the show, and I don't want it to be the end. I have a proposition for you, Tae Hea, one that might be too good for you to refuse.
Okay.
You want to hear it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that you are not only an OG with regards to venture investing, but with your ideals around go-to-market fit. And I've alluded to this before, but Drew from Fiat Ventures is also just one of the most amazing guests that we've had on with regards to growth marketing and how to find scale. I would love to have a roundtable with you and Drew on the show sometime in the future.
Yeah, be happy to participate. Love
It'd be
doing that.
fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Done. Bree, did you hear that?
Yes.
It's in.
No, this is something I enjoy talking about and hearing other people's thoughts and questions.
I love it. All right. So we are going to make that happen to all the listeners and viewers of the pod. Amazing things are going on. Now, we have come towards the end of the episode. And as always, we have a segment called the Fidelity 5 Questions. We're going to ask you 5 questions in rapid fire format. You're going to give us the one answer. We can't really ask you any follow-ons. We're not supposed to. And at the end, if you win, you get a prize.
Okay.
All right. Excellent. Bree, do you want to kick us off?
Okay. What is your go-to karaoke song?
I want to hold your hand.
Oh, the Beatles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to.
This is after trying a lot of different songs. Also, I'm a horrible singer too.
No, I don't believe. I don't believe.
No. I wish I could, but no, I'm not a very good singer.
Okay.
It's very un-Korean. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't believe it. I really don't. We're gonna test this theory out when you come visit us in St. Louis. All right. Next question. If you could invest in any fictional startup from a movie, TV show, book, what would it be?
I'd love to invest in Underdog.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay.
I just like the character Underdog. I've always liked the character Underdog.
I love it. Sorry, Bree, go. Your turn.
Okay. If you could do it all over again, and this is another case where he's both,
Yeah.
would you rather be an investor or a builder? But you're a both guy.
Yeah, I'd rather be a builder.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Take that, Drew. He didn't stand on the fence. He jumped on one side. Okay. Next, what movie best fits your vision for the future of the human race? Is it Wall-E, where we've all degenerated into an obese state due to anti-gravity in the metaverse? Is it Avatar, where we're dominated by this quest for resources, new worlds, and walking around in avatar bodies? or The Matrix, where we're all in a simulation?
I'd say Matrix, since I love civilization and just games in general. Yeah, I can see myself in the Matrix world.
Okay. All
And
right.
that's what I'm trying to avoid. That's why I limit my game playing. Otherwise, I would be in the Matrix world. Yeah.
Okay,
All
I'm
right, Bree.
hoping for a good one on this one. What is the one deal that you passed on that you wish you hadn't?
The problem is there's so many. That's the problem. I'd say it's a Korean game company called Bluehole.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I also passed on Bill.com and others. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to point out that I was at SK Telecom Ventures when we may or may not have passed on Mobile Iron.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
Biggest mistake.
I've learned not to have any regrets over those.
Yeah.
And the reason is, first, if you do, then, emotionally you just burn out.
Yeah.
So self-survival. And the other is I just look at it as that I just had I must make good investments if I always have good opportunities that I pass on. So then the ones you make can be good.
Yeah.
Like that
It's
attitude.
easier in the game. Yeah.
I love that attitude. Thank you so much. Tae Hea, with that, I think we can all say that you've won clearly.
Oh, thank you.
And we can open up. Finally, it has been sitting in front of you. Box C. Please,
Yeah.
let's open this up.
Which I
No,
think is
thank
going to
you.
be the perfect
This is
gift.
box C right here.
Yes. I think it'll be the perfect gift given an earlier issue you had with finding the right
Oh,
cup.
Yeah.
So these are like soju cups,
yes.
and there's supposed to be an emperor's version of it. So hopefully next time we do this, you don't have to drink out of a teacup.
No,
Okay.
no teacups. Although I thought it was very artsy of you. So
Yeah, no, this is fantastic. Yeah, no, thank you very much.
you
Aren't those
are
cool
welcome.
little vessels?
Yeah.
So as we normally do, the last cheers is for our guest. It's 20 seconds for you to call to attention anything that you might want to just say thank you to your friends and family, whatever it might be. The last 20 seconds and the last cheers is yours.
Okay. No, I just want to thank both Bree and Vikram for this opportunity and really enjoy the time together. Yeah. No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And all
Excellent.
your hard work putting this together. I know there's a lot of thought behind it, so thank you very much.
Oh,
Well, thanks for listening to Drinks with a VC. We are so grateful for our listener support. Feel free to reach out and add any of your questions to the comment section. If you have an idea for a guest or have some feedback, reach out to us on LinkedIn.
As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Cheers.